Today's video is going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about our pantry, from our eggs and how we put them up, to our meats, to our freezers, to cans, and all the stuff that we have harvested for the year. This is how we feed our family of 8, and it starts right now.
I know that you are having a hard time right now.
Welcome to Max. As we said in the intro, we are going to be showing you our pantry. We have just finished up the majority of our harvest. What's left to harvest?
There's still a good bit going out there. The okra never stops.
Okra never stops.
Not till it gets cold.
And I think all the
Like
beans and
frost
peas
cold.
that are pretty much by the okra that we've harvested tons off of, now it's seed saving time for them. But we still have a few peas across on the other side in the big garden, so it is a never-ending thing. We want to grow 12 months out of the year. But today's video is going to be a fun one because you're going to get to see all the work that we've done and now to see the fruition of it all. If you watched our live last week, you saw our first part, and we'll talk about our kitchen first, and we're going to show you a little bit of the kitchen and what we've got put up there. So we've got this big shelf, and you've been busy at work on that shelf, hadn't you?
And most of the stuff that is on that shelf was from last year, and it is right across from my island where I cook in the kitchen. So it's very easy to go over there and get last year's food. So we're eating on last year's food. And pretty much everything that I've canned this year has gone in a different location, and you guys are going to see some of that. And that is put up for when we get done eating off of last year's food.
It's really cool to have the process of eating last year's food and really prepping and putting up this year's food. Now, have we ate fresh peas and beans and corn and cucumbers? Yes, we have. But the whole purpose is we want to eat some of our older things and put up some of the new things coming in. So that way it's always a rotation going on. Now, as Misty was talking about on the island, let's talk about the island just for a second. So we have this little cabinet. It's kind of like our little spice cabinets that we maneuver things around. But the Excalibur sits right behind it. So what is actually in that spice cabinet?
Mostly garlic and onion, which I use the most.
Before, we used to harvest onions and we tried the braided thing. We tried to cure them out. But in the South, we pretty much had issues with that because it was just humid and they would get nasty and they wouldn't last as long. So we have some videos showing what she did and how she powdered those using this big crazy grinder that we have now. But ultimately what we're doing is we know we're going to eat those powders way more than we're going to eat a whole onion. So we have dehydrated them, we have powdered some, and actually even freeze dried some. So our goal now is taking that harvest. You're not depending on anything other than getting it ground up, and now you can just store it on the shelf. Other than the spices that we have in that white cabinet, we also have one tincture and then one other thing that we've made with liquor, having liquor here at the farm. So what is one of the reasons that we keep that liquor there?
Well, vanilla is my favorite.
We make our own vanilla, and since we have a milk cow and we have so much cream and so much milk, we always have an excuse to make fresh ice cream. So I think by having those things, our kids think that's just a staple every week. Leaving the kitchen, we go right into the pantry. And this is one of the things, when we built the house, we did not really build a pantry. So we've done the remodel, and you can see some of the remodel in this video, but really talk about the pantry.
Having the pantry room is by far my favorite. We do have some bulk goods in there, like the macaroni and cheese and stuff that we still enjoy because it's available. We still buy some things from Azure. That's a big thing for us because we are a large family, and it is very good for us to be able to have the benefit of buying in bulk. Probably my most favorite is the herb section. Being able to grow my own herbs like holy basil, garlics and onions that we mentioned earlier, from echinacea, which is coneflower.
We've got the kumquats in there.
The kumquats are in there.
We've got all the greens, the raspberry leaves.
Garlics, the green onions, yeah, the raspberry leaves. I've got yarrow in there. So lots and lots of herbs, along with herbs and doing teas for maybe when we're sick or having different health issues. Also making tinctures with the herbs for that. So not only can we use the dehydrated herbs that are in there, we're also able to make capsules to be able to consume and using those in tinctures, which is all very, very good for our health.
Our favorite thing that's in the pantry, though, is probably going to be
The
our
freeze
dryer.
dryer.
Yep. So Misty is actually in the process of getting a bigger freeze dryer because we use it so much. So you'll see underneath we have, of course, our salts and things like that in the 5-gallon buckets. But look at all this food that we have put up. It has been phenomenal to have this. Misty has got it going just about every day, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
So this is some of the stuff. Now, we've showed you in other videos where we have My Patriot Supply and a lot of freeze-dried foods upstairs, and we'll show you that in this video as well. But now, as we talked in prior videos, why buy the freeze-dried food when we can make our own? So you can see the buckets. We've gotten tons of buckets. We've been putting a lot up.
Because we are growing and bringing a lot of our food in, so freeze dryer is not a great option for a lot of people because it is one of the cons, it is very cost heavy. Mm-hmm. And we understand that, we realize that was a major investment that we decided to take on because we are growing and bringing in a lot of our own food. We did not want to put all of our eggs in one basket, so to speak. We did not want to dehydrate everything. We did not want to can everything. We did not want to freeze everything. So with our growing farm and bringing more food in, like for example, this summer has probably been to date our best harvest yet, hands down, on everything except for zucchini. We wanted multiple ways to be able to bring those foods in and not only freeze them, can them, dehydrate them, use them fresh, but also freeze dry them and put those up and make those shelf stable for many years to come.
So if we take that same view with everything that Misty was just talking about with our harvest, now you've got redundancy of going across your prepper's pantry, all different ways. We have a lot of coolers, freezers, and fridges. I think we have 7 in this room. So 7 freezers and refrigerators that now hold our milk, that holds all the animals that we're able to process, that provides for us.
So one of my favorite things that I have learned to do this year was canned meat. Chicken is probably the hardest of them all.
And we have a video of that too.
We do.
We
Y'all
can
be
link
sure
that
to
below.
check that out. There are multiple ways to can chicken, and none of them are wrong. I'm just showing you how I do it. Canning beef was probably the easiest thing to do. I also love to put up chicken broth. Water glass and eggs too was a major game changer here because if our hens slow down or they're not laying in the winter for whatever reason, and we were having to either barter or buy eggs, that's not a good option, especially now in the days that we live in. So by water glassing eggs, that eliminates the stress of not having to worry about those eggs because they're right there on our shelf.
Having eggs that our chickens are producing right now, if they slow down, Misty's got the water glassed eggs, which is lime, and we put that up in bulk in all these big white 5-gallon buckets that you're going to see. But we also freeze dry eggs. Freeze drying eggs allows us to have a powdered form of eggs as well. I'm not saying you'd want to scramble eggs and eat them that way, but it's another form of having that protein put up that we're not depending on anything because it's been done and it's there for 25 to 30 years since it's freeze dried.
Colby cuts the pigs up, but I take care of render in the lard. So definitely a no waste policy here. Knowing that we have oils to use, especially to fry, we don't want those things to go to waste. So by being able to take the lard from the pig, render it down, put it in a jar and put it on the shelf, knowing that I have that there, it's shelf stable, it does not require any type of refrigeration after it has been rendered down and canned in sterile jars. That is a major A+, bonus.
And
knowing that we have that.
And see, right next to the lard, here we are, we're sitting here with the chicken broth that Misty talked about from the chicken that's right above it. Then you look over next to the water glass tanks. We have butter sitting there that we have canned.
That's our butter too.
Our butter that we've canned. Not only that, we've canned milk. So we have this basically canned evaporated milk for use to, if we're making cakes, if we're making breads, or whatever you're making with milk. So now again, we have a no waste policy. We're able to utilize different things other than our freezer. So many times that we depend on our freezer, we've learned that we cannot depend on our freezer. Yes, we do have a propane generator. Yes, we have some solar options there too. But if we learn to not be dependent on the grid, that stress is not there as much. We are a family of 8, so we pile food into this house. But if we put it all in the freezer, or we're so dependent on this one way of preserving, then we are putting ourselves in major danger. So what we've tried to do this year, and really the last part of last year, is really diversify our Prepper's Pantry.
We realize people live paycheck to paycheck, and it is hard. We get that. We sympathize with that. We know. Buy secondhand, buy used, save the difference, and use it to buy items that you can invest in for your future. Maybe like a dehydrator. Buy a dehydrator to where if you find blueberries on sale in the grocery store, hey, you can put those blueberries up. Or whatever the food may be that you find on sale, you could put those foods up. Fast food. Fast food for our family will just about break anybody because we have a big family and it is very expensive. So when we went on a field trip a few days ago, instead of eating out at lunch and supper, I packed us sandwiches for lunch. So what I'm telling you is you don't have to eat out all the time. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg on fast food paying for those type foods. Let there be times where you pick up things instead, like things to make a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly. Let those things get you by. Save the difference and invest in your future with that extra money.
When you say you can't afford something, there's times that's always going to be tough for you, especially in this climate that we're in with inflation. We have videos talking about some of those details. But the whole point is budgeting, making sure you put priority on food and safety and taking care of your family. Now let's take you to our place where we pretty much buy stuff in bulk. You're going to see a lot of things that we do, and we put in Mylar bags, we put it in 5-gallon buckets, and the importance of that is this is stuff that we're having to buy ourselves too. Other than the honey, everything up here we're having to purchase too, but we're buying it over time. All these buckets have been filled, not just in 1 month, not just in 6 months. It's been over years. So our goal is to take care of our family. If we can only spend $5 to $10 to $15 extra dollars in a week, that's $5 to $10 to $15 extra dollars you can buy in rice, beans, or oats. Before we go and look at what we have in some of the other rooms, right behind this room in our lunch room, we built this seed pantry. It's a dark room. It has all the seeds, especially Hulse tools and survival garden seeds. Both of those are in there, so you need to check those out. Links are below. However, we have got tens of thousands of seeds.
Most of which, I would say it's about 50-50 now. What we've
saved
saved and what we've
That's right. Now, here's what I want to tell you, though. We have successes and failures just like you do. Yesterday, we were going through our seeds, getting ready for fall, and talking about them with someone that was here. And guess what? We had some seeds that we had put up that we didn't let dry out enough, and guess what? We had molded seeds.
I was tortured.
But what's so cool about this is from that we learn. We say, okay, with that failure, we're going to do something different next time. So we used to lay our seeds out for a long time. This one we didn't lay out as much because we thought that it was going to be okay. So we learned through failure what we need to do better next time.
It wasn't a little bit my fault. I usually leave them in Ziploc bags and just leave the Ziploc bags open. I guess out of habit, I zipped it up before I put it up, and that was probably my fault.
So it didn't have time to get the moisture all the way out. So you see we have failures too, so please understand we're doing all we can to save seed and also to buy some, like Misty said. We have about 50 still on the shelf. Our goal is to stockpile as many seeds as we can. Buying food is one thing, but being able to produce your own food is a whole other thing. You need to be doing that from microgreens in the smaller city-style apartments to where you can grow raised beds in suburban cities and hide those in edible landscapes. If you're in an HOA and they won't allow you to have a garden, put them in edible landscaping. I love flowers and I love seeing the landscaping that we have around our house, but what's so cool is every bit of it is medicinal, it's herbal, it's edible. So do that around your house. There's ways that you can get around those those sneaky HOA laws too. So make sure you are growing all the food you can. I want you to see how important it is, because I can show you food, but if we can't show you what we're also doing with our seeds from our food, it's all for naught anyway. Now this room is a mess. I think we say that every time we actually come up to this room, but ultimately it's a mess.
It's always a mess. We clean it and then it gets messy again.
I think it's because that's where our workout room is too, and so the kids sneak up there and they'll get on the treadmill, and I think they like to play on my stuff, so it becomes a mess. But what's so cool about this room
Beyond the mess
is, yes, the honey that's in here is from our farm, but everything else you see in the Mylar bags, you see in the 5-gallon buckets, the white food grade 5-gallon buckets, which I know people have said you can't find for $4.28 at Walmart. In South Mississippi, I know you can, because I just bought about another 15 of these bad boys just the other day. So we're putting food up in Mylar bags, in food grade buckets, and also we have some salt in these boxes here. All those things are right here at our disposal, and use them as we need them. So Misty's got polenta, rolled oats. What else is up there?
Sugar,
salt, flour, all kinds of flours. Not only flour, wheat berries, rice seed. We have everything that you can imagine up there in those 5-gallon food grade buckets. I know Mylar bags, someone said they're short in supply on Amazon, so buy them if you can. All sizes, we have them from literally the small size for like seeds to the 5-gallon bucket sizes for these buckets. So what we do, say we're buying some kind of food like flour, sugar, polenta, anything but salt, we put them straight into the freezer first. So that's your beans, your rice, all that. And so if there's something in that bag or something growing with that shouldn't be in there, like insects, then we can turn around and kill them in the freezer. We bring them out. Now they've got some moisture from the freezer, so Misty will usually lay them out on a towel. Once we know they're dry, they're going in the Mylar bags with an oxygen absorber into the food grade bucket, or in some of these smaller packages you just see we have them laid out. They're sealed up, ready to go. This room is the darkest. It has no windows. The whole purpose of us putting them up here is to keep them in a cool, dark place that is a controlled environment. And now we have food that will last for years and years.
So on this side, you see that we have the bulk of our freeze-dried food before we bought our freeze dryer. Mm-hmm. So it was a great passion of ours to be sure that we had food that was shelf stable for many years. We bought from a company years and years ago that are, I'm not even sure, selling anymore.
I don't think they are.
But My Patriot Supply was our last purchase, and we have a few years worth of food through them, and our last purchase was a 3-month kit. We do have a video on that where we have opened up the boxes and shown y'all what are in those boxes, what type foods are in there. Some people are adamant on creating those themselves. Some think it is a wise idea just to get a few of those and put them up in storage. We definitely, of course, recommend that.
And the thing also is, if you're a smaller family, 4 or less, you may not want to invest in a freeze dryer. It may not be to your best interest. That's okay. You may not want to spend $2,500 or $3,500.
That's why these companies are so wonderful.
Absolutely. So when people say, well, freeze-dried food is expensive, well, it's only going to get more expensive. So that's an investment. It's just like anything else that you're purchasing. It is appreciating in value because we see how the food scarcity in the supply chain has been broken for a long time now. But if you just need to buy a 3-month supply or a 6-month supply, that is going to be a lot cheaper than a freeze dryer. So if this is just a backup plan, say you're growing food or say you're buying bulk food, you have them in Mylar bags like we have over here, or you have gardens growing, you may just want to have another 3 to 6 months worth of food in freeze-dried foods from places like My Patriot Supply. It is a game changer to have, and that gave us security when we did not have a freeze dryer. We really looked at the option of freeze-dried foods. Right next to that, we have water. Water is very important. Now, we are not in a water shortage here in South Mississippi. We have been getting tons of rain. We also have a well that we're using. So next to our My Patriot Supply stuff, we have our hand pumps. We actually have 2 of those. We have water on the other side just in case. We have a big live straw filtration system too. You can never be too prepared. We don't believe water's an issue where we're at because of the lake that we have and because of the well. but you can never be too safe. So we also stockpile water as well. It's very good to do that. I know in some of these areas, in some of your areas, especially in the Southwest and West, you are seeing droughts and you are seeing issues with water. You're seeing government control water. So the more water you can put up, the better. In this dark little corner, I know it's kind of dim, we have medicine up top, and Misty will talk a little bit about that. But over here we have siphons. We have propane burner, little small propane camping stoves. We have little Bunsen burners. We have all kinds of little gadgets that we need. Craig radios. Our solar generators are also up here. Our goal is to have this shelf as redundant everything. Things that we've purchased over the years. Now, a lot of this stuff has been with us for years.
Really long time.
Yes, and even with this, like for instance, we have a CB radio, we have a transistor radio, we have antennas just for those, we have low frequency walkie-talkies, and we have videos on all those things. But the whole purpose is anytime we see that there's some way that we can use this, we can buy it. This is also where we keep our solar fan. We have a video on that solar fan, on some of those other things, even down to some of the bug out supplies we have. All that we keep right here in this corner.
And we posted a video showing you guys what was within the majority of the stuff that was in our medical kits. Now, we've kind of broken that down and shared that with y'all, but it's so crucial because you're never prepared unless you're prepared. So if something were to...
Wait, let me write that down.
He's got jokes. So if something were to ever happen and you need medical supplies, it's always wise to have those things on hand. Whether it be something as simple as pain and fever reducers, or something like antibiotics. If you were to get cut and not have access to antibiotics, at least you have some put up with your emergency supplies, and you could go to those antibiotics and be able to utilize those. Jace Medical is the one that supplied us with those antibiotics. They're easy to deal with, easy to handle. The shipping is really fast. Can't speak highly enough. That's why we recommend these guys to y'all. Jace Medical. We have so many other things besides fever reducers, antibiotics. We have respiratory items up here. We have bleeding control. Many of those things, like I said, we mentioned in much more detail of the things that we have in our medical supply.
And check that out. We'll drop that below too.
But again, you're not prepared unless you're prepared. So you have to think outside of the box of just food and water, but you also have to be able to take care of yourself and your body. And we've showed you things even down to hygiene, y'all.
So wrapping up, you see there is even down to the soaps, down to sweet potato slips that we're still growing. For some reason, I don't know why we have so many sweet potato slips, but
Don't
we do.
complain.
It's a good problem to have. We can't eat them quick enough, and then they make new slips, and that's a good problem to have, like Misty said. So we're planting more sweet potatoes as we speak. But the whole purpose of this video is to hopefully encourage you to know that you can do this. Everything in this video you either can grow or you can purchase, and purchase over time to where it will not break the bank. The main purpose is to give you hope to know that it's not too late to start prepping. If you're prepping with Jace Medical to have antibiotics, if you are putting up charcoal and propane tanks for cooking off-grid, which we have and we don't show in this video, but every and anything that you need, any way that you can, put up food. If you can control your own food, you can control your own water, you can control your own energy, then you are more sufficient and more sustainable to not depend on everyone else.
And it's really crucial, y'all, to remember a priority when if you're starting to prep and you get overwhelmed and you say, I don't even know where to start. Remember, start with priorities. You must have water. So remember, think about your family needs. Water is always priority, and go from there. And that way you won't get overwhelmed as well. Not only is a budget an issue, space an issue, but just don't get stressed and overwhelmed. That's not what we want to do. We don't want to stress y'all. We don't want to overwhelm y'all. So think about priorities first, what your family needs.
And every prep is always based on the area that you're in. So as Misty was talking about a while ago, find out what's best for you, make a list, and then go from there. If water's a major key where you don't have access to it, then that needs to be your first prep. If you can't grow your own food, then it needs to be buying it, and you need to have that as first-time preppers. We have a video on just going to Walmart and purchasing 20 things for under $200. Now, inflation has made that probably a little bit higher now, but the goal is you've got to make a list, plan, and prep and budget for all these things. Now, one thing we did not show you that we want to talk about is we protect our homestead. We don't show a lot of that on these videos, but when we have things, and when you have things, you have to learn to protect what you have with security. From our firearms to every means necessary in taking care of our family and our farm and our homestead, that's very important when it comes to prepping and pantries too, because ultimately if someone knows you have it and they don't, they're going to be looking to get it. So take care of your family. Make sure you're protecting yourself, not only food, energy, shelter, and water. Look at safety and security as well. So I hope this video is encouraging to you. Hope you enjoyed it. Please go down here, push like, subscribe. Leave us a comment of what you're working on in your Prepper's Pantry, what you'd like to see in our Prepper's Pantry, and we'll try to go over it. And hey, we're going to do another live not too far in the future to we'll do question and answering style live, so you can ask us what you want. But go down here, please leave us a comment of what you're doing, and we hope that you are going to have a great day. God bless.
Happy homesteading, y'all.
Happy homesteading, y'all.